Good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack here. Monday now, the 6th of October, 2025. Good to be with you, everybody. Going to talk about more ACE coming up, big waves coming up yet again with another system out in the open Atlantic. Don't really think this is going to affect the Leeward Islands too much. And in addition to this, I'll also talk about with you today some activity in the Eastern Pacific that could bring some moisture to our friends in the desert Southwest, or not. I'll explain. And then I think the biggest impact story of the week is going to be a coastal storm that looks like it's going to try to develop. One of those situations where, again, whether we label something, how we label it, what we call it, matters little. It is going to bring impacts, and I think a much bigger impact, clearly, than what we're dealing with out in the true deep tropics. I will put it all together, explain it to you, hopefully nice and neat, bundled up in a package that you can totally understand as we go forward through the rest of this morning's update. So let's start in the East Pac real quick. We have Tropical Storm Octave sitting out here, Hurricane Priscilla, and then another area trying to get its act together south of Mexico. And all of this will combine to eventually possibly bring some moisture to the desert southwest of the U.S., and with that, an increase in rain chances. Here's what it looks like on the satellite this morning. Very large hurricane here, spatially speaking. Remember, large does not mean intense. We're literally talking about how wide it is. Very large Hurricane Priscilla. This system over here to the west is Tropical Storm Octave, and then this is the energy that's trying to get together and eventually create another system, probably. Tell you what, the East Pac certainly has overperformed this year, hasn't it? Now you look at this, tangled up in and around Central America on the Caribbean side of things, and you might be wondering, oh, is that something that's going to develop? Is the CAG coming? Nope. All of this energy is going to move generally this way, and this will probably take over. For whatever reason, we're just not seeing the Central American gyre, that CAG, take shape just yet, which is fine. So far, so good for the continental U.S. for major impacts from direct landfalls. But again, this system here especially going to park itself off the coast of the Baja and bring some moisture into the southwest. This is what the track map looks like off the HurricaneTrack Insider site. Our nice interactive map here. And yeah, there could be some rainfall for the desert southwest. There is a nice little, what do they call this? The weather story of the day, or whatever you call it. I like these infographics that the Weather Service puts out, because it spells everything out nice and neat. Couple things to point out. Moisture levels will reach up to 200% of normal for this time of year, resulting in increased rain chances. However, the outcome, the spread of the models is crazy. From nothing, low wind chances, to over 2 inches. 10% chance of that 2 inches happening. Bottom line is southeastern California, through a good chunk of Arizona, pretty much the whole state. You could get in on some pretty good moisture here, so we'll keep an eye on that. The potential for flooding, and especially as this might happen near the weekend, people might want to go out and go hiking. It's not 150,000 degrees out there anymore. Still hot, but not as hot, and this will knock the temperatures down. But if people are outside enjoying recreational areas, you do need to be mindful that there could be some flooding potential. Something we'll stay on top of here with every update that I do this week. Moving on along to the Atlantic Basin now. There it is, Invest Area 95L. Pretty good chance this becomes our next named storm. Jerry will be the name. And if we look at this on satellite, I tell you, it looks a lot more organized here. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of loose. Obviously, there's little clusters of storms, but you can clearly see where the tropical wave and associated low pressure area are sitting in there. Now, normally, we would expect something like this to maybe cruise right into the Caribbean and become a big problem over here somewhere. But, very quick to point out, that is not going to happen, because 2025 is apparently anything but normal. We have this persistent weakness sitting up here. It's going to feel that trough and move out into the open Atlantic like so many of the other systems have so far this year. However, there's always a however, right? This will bring waves. Waves are impacts. Rip currents are impacts. Of course they are. So just keep that in mind if you're traveling to The islands, I know a few people that are later this week. Just keep in mind as this goes through, you will get some wind and wave action far away from any center that this eventually develops. But by and large, it looks like, as I'll show you in the modeling in just a moment, that this will not have direct impacts. In other words, very little risk of this moving right through the northeastern Caribbean islands. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Keep an eye on it. It's hurricane season still, despite that it's now almost the first week into October, and we're looking at deep tropical development still. But like I said, 2025 seems to be anything other than normal, right? All right, so here's the really cool dashboard off the Tropical Tidbits site. And as you look at it on the infrared, again, it doesn't look nearly as organized because this is showing us the deeper convection, and there's just not a lot of it. Thought I'd point that out. Sometimes the true color or the visible makes it look a little bit better organized, I guess, overall. Anyway, just structural stuff I thought I'd point out. Model guidance, this is the spaghetti plot, whatever you want to call it, all the different available ensemble, means, whatever. It's all there, and this is just really nice because it really paints an easy way to visualize the potential outcome. And for the next few days, very tightly clustered, very little divergence. A couple of the models go over here and you go, well, Mark, you just said we don't have to worry about it. Look, a majority of the guidance is way over here to the right or to the east, including, and this is very important, your consensus models, the TVCN, the HCCA. When you see that, that gives you pretty good confidence that these are what we call outliers. Yes, they fall outside the mean and the consensus, all that good mathematical stuff. So I wouldn't worry about it too much in the islands. Watch it, but don't worry. Intensity-wise, well, of course, your hurricane weather research forecast model, the HWRF, goes big with a Category 4, and some of the HAFS models, these newer ones, don't do anything at all. So a wide variety of outcomes. I would bet, just looking at, again, the overall satellite view, that's a decent pocket of energy. Ocean temperatures are warm. The environment is moist. I bet this goes on to become a formidable hurricane at some point. And again, the emphasis being it should stay fairly comfortably away from the islands. Moving on. Now, this system here, I'm going to tell you, as I mentioned, this will probably, I'm certain of it at this point, if it happens, this will be the bigger news story this week than anything going on out in the tropics, both the Eastern Pacific and in the open Atlantic, because, and this is just obvious here, it's going to be happening very close to land areas. So this tweet here from Florida Tropics, attention also shifting towards a homegrown threat later this week. Wouldn't be surprised if we see the NHC mark this. And even though it might be more subtropical, and again, with the classifications and the labeling, you can just look at these various plots here from the different models. It's much more spread out, and it looks more like a big comma, kind of like a nor'easter. But we're still in the warm season. We've got warm ocean temperatures, so there might be some tropical characteristics, i.e. more convective activity, thunderstorms that resembles, oh, that kind of looks tropical. It looks like a little tropical storm out there. But it'll also have some, oh, that looks like a nor'easter out there. So the blend of the two is your sort of hybrid deal. Maybe a nor'easter, maybe subtropical. Again, with all these labels, who cares? I don't know how I got rid of that tab. That was unfortunate. But the bottom line, you got to watch it because there could be some impacts. And again, that is what it is all about, especially for our friends in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So let me point out, this is the ECMWF here, the Euro, the operational 6Z. So it means it initialized at 2 a.m. Eastern, right? 6Z run. And we're not looking for the 95L in this shot particularly. I want you to pay attention to this area off of the Carolinas. Watch as the week progresses. This system on this old frontal boundary starts to coalesce. And by the end of the week, it really cranks up there. And you see these isobars, lines of equal pressure up here. That's pretty strong wind. Pressure gradient with high pressure to the north, low pressure developing to the south. And you get this sort of hybrid coastal low, 990 millibars, stiff northeast winds right into areas where they really don't want it. the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Now, that would be Jerry sitting out there. The Euro isn't having anything to do with it, to be honest with you. So that's going to be interesting to see if the Euro is overdoing this and underdoing this, right? Yeah, something to watch in the coming days. But if this comes to pass, A, we're going to have some big problems here for eastern North Carolina, and B, I'm going to be stuck out there in Rodanthe for probably a week. We'll talk about that later. It's coming, and other people are talking about it as well. Andy Hazelton down at HRD and vicinity. This is a nice plot from that 6Z Euro if this were to come to pass. Look at that. Some of these wind speeds in here approaching 50 knots or so. That's getting it. But the main thing is this long fetch, really piling up the water, generating the big waves. Buxton, Rodanthe, you guys, Hatteras National Park Service, all that. It's just going to be a mess. Fox weather out there for several days now, going on a week covering this. We got a few cameras out there permanently on the Rodanthe Pier and vicinity. I'm thinking this will draw my attention up there for sure if this comes to pass. I'll have to watch and see. But one of the biggest things here is, again, what is it? Is it classifiable as subtropical, non-tropical? Yeah, that's something for the science side to figure out. But at the end of the day, big impacts possible. And look, I know I'm focusing on the Outer Banks here, but this is parts of the eastern seaboard that are not the Outer Banks, technically. And you could get some strong wind and big waves there, too. Bottom line, we're going to need to watch this very, very closely for tropical storm-like impacts. It's just hard to convey hazards when you don't have a name. That's the challenge here. Anyway, one more little tidbit about it. National Weather Service, Morehead City area. Again, focusing on eastern North Carolina for now because we've had all these homes falling in the ocean lately. The massive erosion out there. It's really been a big problem. And this is looking like it's just going to add to that. So yeah, looking ahead, we could see multiple days of coastal impact starting later this week. I would probably go up there, I don't know, thinking maybe Thursday night or something, and just take a bunch of stuff with me for the house that I normally stay in out there in Rodanthe, and plan to be there for quite a while if this comes to pass. So this is going to be something I'm going to be focusing on more and more, probably in tandem. I'm not going to ignore 95L Jerry to B. I think those two are going to eventually be pretty much equals here in terms of importance to discuss over the coming days. All right? All right, well, that is it from me for today. Have a great rest of your Monday. As always, thank you for tuning in. From all of us at the Hurricane Track family, good to see you again. I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll see you again tomorrow.